father as police look for answers in this troubling murder case.
And I'm Emery King in for Mort Krim. Good afternoon. Also making headlines on this Tuesday evening, some jurors are moved to tears when Susan Smith's ex-husband shows them pictures of the little boys murdered by their mother. We'll have a live report from South Carolina on the hearings that could result in a death penalty. And do you believe those claims you see in the TV commercials? We'll put a couple of them to the test, and you'll see the results for yourself. These stories and more right now on the Newsbeat.
And now, with Mort Krim and Carmen Harlan, this is Newsbeat at 5.
The people at the house, because they said they didn't know anything about it, and they knew all about it. And they just let him lay there, especially when somebody came and told him for him to go there. They knew he was there. Why didn't they go for help?
A mother mourns her son's brutal beating death. She and police want to know if other people saw it and left him to die. Good afternoon. The big story is the question of whether a young man was left to die outside a home in Harrison Township. The Newsbeat first told you about the beating death of Dean Wasmont last night. Tonight, police have a suspect, but they're also wondering if people at that party knew Wasmont was beaten and if they just left him there to die. The Newsbeat's Mike Lewis picks up the story now, and he tells us the victim's mother wants answers too.
You said he was alive then. Why didn't you do something instead of letting him suffer?
I was very shocked. I was very scared and stuff, and I didn't think about it. I was hoping that he would get up and walk home or go away. Just like...
Some say 2 crimes were committed here in Harrison Township. First, the savage beating of 21-year-old Dean Wasmont. And second, the decision by others to leave Wasmont lying on the ground, leading to death for half a day.
Witnesses say the group was gathered out here in the driveway when Gonzalez suddenly punched Wasmont in the face, knocking him down here. Wasmont laid here for a minute, then got up and ran across the backyard trying to escape. But he fell down there by the deck, and Gonzalez caught up with him and started kicking him.
George McCloskey witnessed the attack at his parents' home.
I was here. There was a fight that broke out, and he was laying over there, and I guess he got beat up pretty good, and that's, I like kind of try to stay away because I know Victor. He's like pretty violent, and I didn't want no part of it, so I kind of like backed off and was in the house when it was happening.
Don Wasmont found his brother's body yesterday afternoon.
One of the kids that was there called and said he was still laying inside the house, and I went there, called the police and went there.
And he found him dead.
Did they think he was just...
They knew what was wrong with him. They just were afraid to call the police.
Police arrested 22-year-old Victor Gonzalez this afternoon. He's charged with second-degree murder and faces up to life in prison. Macomb County Sheriff William Hackle says those who left Wasmont to die may face charges too.
Yeah, we not only have one person that beat another young fella to death, we have a whole lot of folks that, for whatever reason they had, didn't bother to call and get them some help.
Wasmont's mother was celebrating her birthday yesterday afternoon, waiting for her son to come home to take her shopping.
And they just let him lay there, especially when somebody came and told him for him to go there. They knew he was there. Why didn't they go for help?
Now, some witnesses are saying that a second man beat the victim, too. He is now being questioned. It has been a very emotional day, both in court and back out here at the scene of the crime, where some of the victim's friends came this afternoon looking for answers on their own, and things once again got out of hand.
And just a few minutes ago, a friend of the victim started attacking the house where he was killed.
It should have never happened. It should have never happened. It should have never happened. That kid would have given his heart to anybody. And that's the honest to God truth. If it happened in the South Bronx, Philadelphia, Chicago, and the Mid-City, I could see it. But right here in Harrison Township, it should have never happened. Dino was a good kid. He just turned 21, and it should have never happened. Murder!
Now, Gonzalez, whose mother is a sheriff's department dispatcher here in Macomb County, cried during his arraignment but wouldn't say anything about why he attacked Wasmont. Ironically, the neighbors had called 911 that night. Police were out here at a neighbor's house for a disturbance, but they couldn't find out what was happening at this house where Wasmont died. Back to you.
Mike, do police know what provoked this attack?
It's apparently jealousy over a girlfriend that Wasman had just started dating, and it must have been quite a jealous rage. Witnesses are saying that after Gonzalez attacked him initially, he went back in, had some beers, came back out, and started kicking him some more, Emery.
All right, thank you, Mike. Mike Lewis live. Police tell us other people could also face charges in this case, especially if evidence shows they conspired to somehow try to conceal the crime. Ruth?
There were some surprising developments today in the 12-day-old Detroit newspaper strike, but it didn't really amount to much. The two sides returned to the bargaining table, but nothing happened. The Newsbeat's business editor, Jennifer Moore, has the latest now on both sides suffering and both sides digging in.
There is no question this strike is costing all sides. Workers on the line are losing wages. The papers are losing advertising and subscription revenues. Yet both sides remain deeply divided and equally adamant about winning this battle.
I don't think there's any limit to how long we can withstand those losses. I'm hoping that they aren't losses forever, but we're willing to go as long as it takes.
That has also been the sentiment of the strikers. We will stay out as long as it takes. But the longer it takes, the more vulnerable the papers and their employees become. Letters have already been sent to Free Press employees suggesting they urge their union leadership to get back to the bargaining table or jobs may be in jeopardy.
If we can't get our staff back through the bargaining table, then we are in a position where we have to look at some hard choices and make some more lasting arrangements. But I reiterate that we're not there yet.
News columnist John Pepper says the risk is too great for newspaper workers to be out on strike. He says he will cross the lines and return to work Thursday if the Guild does not end the walkout.
All they're doing is exposing their members to an incredible risk. If one of these papers folds, or if the two papers are combined, there's going to be a severe loss of jobs among journalists in this town.
And Pepper believes the union itself may be at risk if the papers make strikers choose, cross the line, or lose your job.
I think if the Guild fails to get out in advance of the ultimatum and fails to bring its people back to work, the ultimatum will force many of those members to cross the picket line to preserve their jobs. In that case, the union will be dead.
While Pepper has some support for his position, there is also a lot of criticism aimed at him from colleagues on the line.
I think that crossing the picket line when you're a member of the Guild is dishonorable.
Well, I think it's premature to panic right now. I think we have to stay together. We all left together, and I think we should go back together.
Sure, I'm really upset and frightened even about the consequences. But I have to say, which consequences are worse for me? And for me, the consequences of crossing a picket line would be worse. I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
And as for those two sides getting back together, as we mentioned, the newspapers did sit down with union leaders this afternoon to talk about the issues involved. The paper statement said there was no progress, no future meetings were scheduled. In other words, no one seems ready to compromise on anything at this point.
And what's the major issue to the companies right now?
Well, what they said today, the chairman of Knight Ridder was in town today. The papers say that it is something they call feather bedding, excuse me. And we're going to have a lot more on that issue at 6 o'clock tonight.
Okay. We'll see you then. I'll be here too at 6. Thanks, Jen.
It was the afternoon rush hour in Paris, about 5:30, when an explosion rocked a subway train and station. When the dust cleared, 4 people were dead and at least 40 others hurt. Investigators say a bomb went off on the train at the Saint-Michel station in the Latin Quarter of Paris. The blast set off a fire on the train. No person or organization is claiming responsibility for the explosion, but anti-terrorism investigators are on that scene at this hour, looking through the wreckage for any evidence of who might be behind this bombing. Detroit police say 1 worker died and another was hurt in an industrial accident. That happened at the Mascotech Forming Technologies plant this morning. Apparently, a large industrial press malfunctioned and a portion of the machine broke and sprayed metal shavings, hitting the 2 men. There were tears in the courtroom in South Carolina today as Susan Smith's ex-husband told the jury how he tried to deal with his son's murders. Saturday, a jury convicted Susan Smith of murder in the drowning deaths of her 2 young sons. Right now, Mark Strassman is in Union, South Carolina with the latest on the testimony that could determine if Susan Smith lives in prison or dies by execution.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a very bad day for Susan Smith. In court, her ex-husband relived the misery of her murders, and she wept with everyone else. And his testimony pointed her way to the electric chair. David Smith brought to court his scarred heart, a parent's raw grief. Sobbing throughout, he recalled learning from television of Susan's confession their children were dead. David Smith, all my hopes, all my dreams, everything that I had planned for the rest of my life came to an end that day. Smith added, I don't know what I'm supposed to do without them. Susan Smith doubled over, weeping. At one point whispering to her ex-husband, I'm so sorry, David. Minutes later, he showed jurors photos, happy times with the children, Michael's first Easter basket, his first trip to Myrtle Beach, how much he loved his little brother, Alex. David Smith said he had hoped to teach them to play ball, to fish, to ride a bike, and watch them go to school that first day. 3 jurors dabbed at tears like many spectators.
And just him trying to tell what he had planned to do with his children for the years. It was just very, very emotional for me. Heartbreaking. Very, very riveting and heartbreaking and sad.
Behind these newlywed smiles, David Smith acknowledged problems, fights, sometimes physical, over money and sex. More damningly, on the night the boys disappeared, he said Susan asked him whether he'd get mad if Tom Finley visited her at her mother's house. Finley was a wealthy ex-boyfriend of Susan's, and prosecutors say her motive for drowning her children. David Smith wants his ex-wife to die. His testimony, the way he expressed his sense of loss over the unthinkable, just may get his wish granted. Because David Smith testified as a distraught father and not as a bitter ex-husband, Susan Smith's lawyers let him off without asking a single question. That despite his mistreatment of her during their marriage and his new tell-all book, which is out this week. That's the latest on the Smith trial here in Union, South Carolina. I'm Mark Strassman reporting live. Let's go back to you now.
All right, Mark, thank you. And now more about that book David Smith has written. He originally said he would not profit from telling his story, but now he says he will keep about $20,000 the publisher paid him in advance. But Smith says he'll give the rest of the money to children's charities, and that could amount to more than $300,000.
At the O.J. Simpson trial today, Simpson's lawyers put an FBI scientist on the witness stand, and he proceeded to poke a giant hole in the defense theory that police planted blood evidence. FBI agent Robert Martz is an expert on blood. The defense says blood found on Simpson's socks contained a preservative called EDTA, and that would suggest the blood was handled by police and then put on the sock. But Martz did not have the expected answers when Simpson's lawyers put him on the stand.
Were you able to determine with a negative ion mode that there wasn't EDTA on those stains?
There was not EDTA present in the amount that you would find in preserved blood. I proved that on the first day.
Agent Martz, please listen to my question. Were you able to determine with a negative ion mode that there was no EDTA on those stains?
I was not able to identify any EDTA on those stains.
Were you able to rule out the possibility that there was EDTA on those stains with your negative ion mode?
Yes, in my opinion, EDTA was not present on those stains.
That testimony undercuts part of the defense case. Prosecutors maintain EDTA shows up in some foods and some cleaning products. The Federal Food and Drug Administration is supposed to protect you from dangerous drugs and food products, but the FDA is on the ropes tonight, facing charges of harassment and abuse. The Newsbeat's Bob Beard says a family from Troy told Congress today their son could die of a brain tumor if the FDA doesn't stop investigating his doctor.
14-year-old Paul Michaels of Troy is fighting a brain tumor. He's taking an experimental cancer drug not approved by the FDA, invented by a doctor in Houston, Texas, Stanislaw Brzezinski. The drug is working. The National Cancer Institute says Paul's tumor has shrunk 40 to 50%. But Paul told Congress he's terrified the FDA will shut Dr. Brzezinski down because the agency has already confiscated the doctor's medical records and has convened at least 4 grand juries to investigate him.
It's like I'm in a war against cancer and the government keeps trying to take away the only weapon I have.
How much of the FDA's tactics can be justified when patients' lives will be lost if Dr. Brzezinski becomes unable to treat them? I can tell you that no ideal the FDA could possibly attain by its harassment of Dr. Brzezinski is worth my son's life.
FDA Commissioner David Kessler was invited to testify before Congress on Paul Michaels' case and other allegations of FDA harassment. But Kessler declined, saying he needed more time to respond. Committee Democrats cautioned against a congressional witch hunt.
Without FDA's records related to these allegations, how can the subcommittee make a balanced assessment based on both sides of the story?
While Congress investigates, the Michaels family spends $2,000 to $3,000 a year flying to Houston to buy Paul's medicine because it cannot be sold in Michigan. And Paul's doctor, he can only look at Paul's medical records in the offices of the FDA. Bob Beard for the Newsbeat in Washington.
Some members of Congress are preparing proposals right now to weaken the FDA's authority, and they plan to introduce them in Congress this fall. Emery?
There were more accusations and allegations at the congressional hearings into the raids in Waco today. Both federal agents and cult leader David Koresh were blamed for the siege, the raid, and the deaths at Waco. Lawyers for Koresh said he was willing to surrender, but those agents would not listen to him and still raided the compound when Koresh asked for more time to interpret religious prophecies.
His view of what was prophesied was not set in concrete. They didn't have to die. Somebody pushed for that plan, and it was too soon. It would have ended peacefully, in my opinion.
Republicans on the committee are blaming agents for the deaths. Democrats are blaming Koresh. The hearings have 3 more days to run. You've seen the picture for months on television, in newspapers, on the cover of Newsweek magazine. But is this really the picture of the so-called Unabomber who sends bombs through the mail? For months, the FBI has been circulating this picture, drawn last year and based on a possible witness description. But Canadian TV reporters have found the picture looks a lot like artist Robert Exter. He drew a composite sketch for that same witness back in 1987. Now he says the witness may have been confused.
I think that I spent a couple hours with the witness a little bit after the sighting, and I think she was influenced by the meeting.
The FBI stands behind the current sketch, although it seems to look a lot like artist Robert Exter.
Oh. Well, Chuck joins us now, and I hear tell, where does that come from? Rumors of lightning.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
If you go into the lobby, they're not rumors.
They're confirmed.
It's sort of moving over the top of us and moving over eastern Michigan, southeastern Michigan, near Pontiac, too. Boat and Beach report this evening. Watch out for scattered showers and thunderstorms. And that wind and wave action there, that's indicative of being in an area where there aren't those storms. They'll be moving out early on, just in case you're getting out of the boat. Take a look now at tower cam. Lots of haze in the sky, good deal of cloudiness, and now Doppler 4 radar scanning the skies. This is a close-up view on the 25-mile range, and Doppler 4 radar will indeed indicate, let's show you Doppler 4 radar. Doppler 4 radar will indicate that we've got the heaviest showers and storms pushing on off into Lake St. Clair, down into the Windsor area. Still some good rainfall right along the riverfront, the lakefront as well, stretching down into Detroit. Some very heavy downpours moving toward the Pontiac area, east at 15, so this is a very slow-moving system. Garden variety rain back on off to the west, so the heaviest to the east of us, and now more coming in. We'll have more on this in just a few minutes. Here's the evening forecast. We're talking about temperatures settling down into the 80s. Where the rain is, it's probably cooling things off into the mid to upper 70s, but that's a temporary trend. Once that rain moves out and the sun comes back, we'll see those temperatures zoom up. And you know, this rain does not make the humidity go away, so that's still a problem. We'll talk about the next few days coming up.
All righty.
Thanks for squelching the rumor.
Yeah, okay.
Well, do you lose weight, then gain it back again, then lose, then gain? Doctors have said that is dangerous, but wait until you see the newest medical survey about yo-yo dieting. It's ahead in Good Medicine.
And he sent his girlfriend a doctored picture, one that showed he'd been killed. Then he demanded money. Now, see how police caught up with him in this fantastic story.
Is this laundry detergent ad for real? And what about the claims made for this car wax? I'm Ruth to the rescue with the story coming up.
Normally, they work in nursing homes taking care of the elderly. Today, they decided to stay off their jobs and walk the picket line. I'm Bob Bennett. I'll have that story.
For a 13-year-old downriver girl, it is a matter of life and death, and you can help. I'm Dan Mountain. Ahead at 6, Sarah's story.
This okay, Grandma?
Beat at 11 on 4.
There's my big...
Well, do you believe the ads you see on television, or are you a skeptic? We wondered if the claims made on some of your favorite commercials are for real. In a Newsbeat consumer investigation, I tested a popular laundry detergent and a car wax that claims it's so strong it can even stand up to a laser.
If you watch TV commercials, you know this little guy. He stars in a series of laundry detergent ads that show how all-temperature cheer works. But some consumers are skeptical.
It's our job as consumers to, you know, take everything with a grain of salt, really.
I don't think it comes out that clean. It's too clean.
In this commercial, he gets out a soaked-in wine stain by simply applying cheer, rubbing it in, and stirring the napkin in ice water. It seems simple, but will it work for us? Laura Tucker is an assistant manager at Mario's restaurant in Detroit and a willing volunteer. She pours the wine over the napkin, just like in the ad. Because the makers of cheer told us the napkin has to soak overnight, we prepared another one the night before for Laura to clean. She pours on cheer, covering most of the stain, rubs it in, and stirs it in ice water for 4 minutes. Voila! The stain is still there. We expected the parts of the napkin covered with cheer to come out clean, but we saw little difference before and after. And what does Laura think?
I'm not going to be using that product. And I just don't think it looked better at all. Just don't think it works at all.
Only Durashine can make this guarantee. You'll never have to wax, polish, or take your car to a car wash again.
No way. No way. If that was the case, I'll be out of business.
Say, imagine never washing your car again. Sound great? We thought so too. And we went to check out Durashine's claims for ourselves. Dr. Detroit Auto Detailing washed our junkyard trunk lid with DuraWash and then applied the polish.
But now there's Durashine, a revolutionary new technology that cheats water away, totally dry.
We're not impressed here at Dr. Detroit. Basically, there's a heavy residue left behind by using a Durashine. There's no sheeting action whatsoever.
Durashine's most amazing claim, it stands up to a laser beam.
What do you think? Are we nuts? Are you nuts?
At the Detroit Science Center, lasers are used for spectacular light shows. But on this day, they took aim at our trunk lid.
Before we tried it, we asked Durashine how they did it. We know they used an argon laser because they said so in the infomercial. But at what setting and how close was the car? Durashine refused to tell us, accusing us of being on a witch hunt.
The argon laser at the Detroit Science Center has 5 settings, enough to burn a hole in a piece of paper in just a few seconds. How did the trunk lid do?
There didn't seem to be any effect on the car itself.
In the infomercial, they used a white car, and they shot the laser on an angle. Ray Bullock says if they used a stronger laser, that could make a difference.
If you've got a straight centered shot, you're going to have more intensity than if you're coming in at a glancing angle.
Even though our laser test is inconclusive because Durashine wouldn't give us the details on how they did it, our experts weren't convinced that the ability to withstand a laser really means anything when it comes to a car wax. If you see an ad that sounds too good to be true, or you're just curious to see if a product really works, you can write to me, Ruth of the Rescue, at 550 West Lafayette Boulevard in Detroit. The zip code is 48231. We'll test the product and we'll share our results with you. Do you remember this ad? You first heard about American Vacation Ventures in a Newsbeat exclusive investigation over a year ago. The company advertised free vacations that ended up costing consumers a bundle of money. Well, after a year of negotiating, yesterday the Attorney General's office sued American Vacation Ventures for violating state law and failing to give refunds to people forced to listen to a sales pitch in order to receive a free gift. Now the company is still in business, but they're under a brand new name, Holiday Resort International. Be careful, folks.
In Good Medicine this evening, contrary to old studies, a new study reports yo-yo dieting does not increase the risk of heart disease. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine found people who lost 20 or more pounds and regained it did not have a greater risk of heart disease. For people who are trying to knock off the pounds, doctors suggest losing weight and keeping it off as the #1 goal. Just as President Clinton tries to regulate the tobacco industry, a California congressman says he can prove that where there's smoke, there's addiction. In Washington today, Congressman Henry Waxman held a stack of papers and said the documents show Philip Morris knew for at least 25 years that nicotine is addictive.
They then state that one of the reasons for continued smoking is that cigarettes serve, quote, as a narcotic, tranquilizer, or sedative.
Philip Morris, the world's largest tobacco company, refused to discuss the specifics until they looked over Waxman's documents. Ruth?
Say, I gave you the wrong zip code on our address. If you want to write to me, it's 48226-3140. We got a new zip code now.
There you go. All right. Glad you committed to memory fast. He's been called a terrorist and a peacemaker, and now he's being called Daddy. That's ahead on the Newsbeat.
And was this a world record? It's hard to tell without any evidence. See for yourself ahead.
I'm Chuck Gatica, and Weather Watch 4. As promised, the afternoon thunderstorms have popped up. When will they fizzle out? We'll talk about that and more heat and humidity that's headed our way as we take you flying with the big picture next.
For 2 days only, this Wednesday and Thursday from 10 till 9, get the offer of a...
Sick little puppy, Chuck.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you want to share that?
I think there was a compliment there.
I wasn't. Sorry.
Say you're back.
I'm back.
More in the
and
boomer
my front
report.
too. And yeah, we've got some boomers out there. As promised, they pop up in the heat of the day, and here they are, popping up here and there. So it all depends on where you're standing. Duck, take a look at our weather kit, just in case it's a little too hot and humid for you. Lauren Wolf of Orchard Lake sent this in, and we picked it at random, and there it was, a nice snow scene. So get close to your TV, put your hands up there, and cool off just a little bit. Outside today, highs and lows, a trace of rainfall officially at Metro Airport. That's before they got a thunderstorm, which was in progress at the top of the hour. 86 the high, the low 68. Normals are 84 and 62 this time of the year. Outside right now, here's where we go. A thunderstorm at Metro, 78 degrees there. Humidity at 60%. Barometric pressure, 29.86 inches of mercury and steady. Wind is blowing now out of the west at 12 miles per hour. Getting some rain downtown. You can see it dripping off the tower cam. Temperatures around the area, 78 degrees at Metro Airport. It was 83 at the top of the hour, the city of Detroit. But again, the showers and storms were moving through. Lou Dwenwig over in Grosse Pointe Park said he cooled off to about 70 when that rain came through with plenty of thunder and lightning. Port Huron Way, 83. Pontiac, 81. 83 for Flint. We've got the mid-80s at Lansing. You can see Jackson there at 83. And Toledo at 79. Here's the 50-mile range of Doppler 4 radar around Pontiac, right along I-75. Some very heavy rainfall. I'll bet you that's going to cause some slow going as you expect somebody home for dinner tonight. The green is the moderate rain. The light blue is the lighter stuff. A lot of that is pushing on off into Ontario, parts of Lake St. Clair, but riding right up I-94. There is going to be some rain there moving out of Macomb County, eventually into St. Clair County. So from Anchorville back up, all the way to Marysville. Get set for some rain in the next half hour. Scattered showers on the west side of town as well, around I-275. You can see 96 stretching out here. So there will be scattered showers, but the heaviest is around the Pontiac area southeast of there as well, down into Ontario, stretching back toward Lake St. Clair. U.S. radar shows the showers and thunderstorms around here. They're all moving to the east, by the way, at about 15 miles per hour. So if you're getting a downpour, it's going to be around for a while. More storms down to the south. Satellite picture confirms we've got the storms here, more disturbed weather to the south, and you can see that now with the 3D effect of these billowy clouds. We'll fly you under that activity across the south, bring it back across the Gulf Coast and up, and you will see where we are. Scattered showers and storms, rather compact, and as we get back into the sunset time, it looks like we'll be getting some of the clearing back in the mix. Here are the past 2 days worth of satellite pictures. This is the eruption of storms during the afternoon. That will diminish as a little disturbance moves away. This front is coming in, so we can't rule out a few more tomorrow, but it looks like we'll keep the heat and humidity on average through the week. Here's your forecast then for the rest of this evening. We'll drop down to a nighttime low of 69. Scattered thunder showers and storms early, otherwise hazy and humid with a low of 69. Tomorrow, we start off again at 8 a.m. in the low 70s. Sun and clouds mixed. There is the chance for scattered thunderstorms. Kind of a rubber stamp here the next few days. 86 tomorrow's high. Through the rest of the week, look at this. Thursday, 87. Friday, near 90. Saturday, near 90. Sunday, the same. I mean, give or take a degree either side because of the rain. But, you know, I could just get a cell phone and find a glass of tea and phone it in from a pool somewhere.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
I
Not a bad idea.
think they would go over in the front office?
Sure, they'd buy it. Tell them I said it was okay.
I'm going in now. I'll see.
She's used to reporting the news, but now reporter Leslie Stahl is making news. We'll show you why when we come back.
And also an unlikely pair takes center stage to announce this year's MTV nominees. That's just ahead in showbiz news.
We're live in Sarnia for the Sarnia Stings charity golf outing. We'll talk about that ahead in sports, and we'll also show you how the Lions are digging into their past. to get ready for the 95 campaign.
In Bosnia right now, the leader of the Serbs and his military commander are being charged with war crimes. Radovan Karadzic and Ratko Mladic are charged with atrocities against Bosnian civilians, taking UN peacekeepers as hostages and holding thousands of Muslims in detention camps. These charges probably won't bring a trial. Neither the Serbs nor the Bosnians accept the jurisdiction of the United Nations. It's a girl, and Yasser Arafat is her father. There wasn't much of a celebration. The PLO chairman didn't even show up for the birth of his daughter, possibly because the baby is a girl. Arafat's wife has been quoted as saying her husband would prefer a boy like all Middle Eastern men, said she. The birth happened in Paris. The little girl was named after Yasser Arafat's mother.
It's a case of a Florida man faking his own death to get money from his girlfriend. 45-year-old Ken Turco sent a picture of himself with several gunshots in the back to his girlfriend, along with a note that said more of her friends would be killed if she didn't cooperate. The woman decided to call the police department.
The detectives made arrangements for her to drop a package in the dumpster at the Texaco at 436 and Oxford Road.
Apparently, Turco got a friend to pick up the bag with the $6,400, but there was nothing but shredded paper in that bag, and it was the friend who got arrested first.
I'm going to try to be a little smarter in things I do and ask more questions when I do someone a favor.
Turco's girlfriend says she's a little shocked, and she plans to take a couple of days off. There are healthcare workers who take care of your parents, maybe your grandparents, maybe even your spouse. But for one day, some Detroit nursing home workers are walking off that job. The Newsbeat's Bob Bennett talked with them about the walkout and what they hope to get out of it.
It was a showing of solidarity. Members of the Service Employees International Union held a Dignity, Rights, and Respect rally on behalf of nursing assistants and care workers, staging a one-day strike against 9 Detroit area nursing homes.
We need raise increase, better staffing, pension. We need it now.
What are your current wages and what kind of increase are you asking for?
Current wages is like $7.48 an hour, and we want higher wages. We've been in negotiation here since May.
Even though they're out for just one day, it affects hundreds of patients in the homes. Well, who's caring for the patients while you're out here walking the picket line?
They have a staff in there. They got temporary services in there.
It's only a one-day work stoppage. The employees say they will be back on their jobs tomorrow. The big question is this a good time to strike?
Well, when you're not getting what you're supposed to get in order to do your job, what are you supposed to do? What can you do? It's not something that we are enjoying doing, but it's just something we feel we have to do right now.
The 9 homes targeted are managed by Grand Care, one of the largest chains in the country. They claim the union is at fault.
We met with them last night. I made a proposal to them. I don't want to really negotiate in the media, but we did, and they said after I gave that to them that they just really did not want to continue last night, that they had other things to do and cut off negotiations.
In Hamtramck, the strikers received some support, but few of the strikers are optimistic about chances of a quick settlement. Bob Bennett on the Newsbeat.
A 10th nursing home was also a strike target, but was able to reach agreement with the union last weekend. Emery?
All this week on NBC News programs, the focus is on race relations. As part of Black, White, and Angry, tonight, Dateline NBC focuses on how blacks and whites are and are not getting along in this country.
Every other race in this country started off something illegal. Italians, Irish, I'm even going to say it, Jewish, okay, selling drugs, selling liquor, doing things illegal. And they were all able to take that illegal money, make it legal, and gain power in this country. But as soon as they saw that the black man caught on to that, war on drugs, war on crime.
See and hear how some young black men view their place in this country and what they'd like to do about it. You can see it all on Dateline NBC. That's tonight at 10 o'clock, only on Channel 4.
It's a good series. Last night they did a tribute to Rosa Parks on there. It was good.
They've done some interesting pieces on that. It started Sunday also with a look at Memphis, Tennessee. Interesting. Catch it tonight on Dateline. Are we looking at the last season for one of the Tiger greats? Van Earl Wright has the answer to that ahead.
Plus, remember this guy? You'd think Big Al Bubba Baker had enough of Lions camp. We'll show you why he's back on the field today. That's ahead in sports.
It's brought to you by your Southeast Michigan Chrysler Plymouth dealers.
This is another one of those, it's a tough story, but somebody's got to do it. Live sports tosses to Van Earl Wright, playing golf again.
Out on that golf course, having a terrible time, right, Van Earl?
He's up in Sarnia. How's things in Sarnia tonight?
Oh, well, it's looking kind of gray right now, Ruth and Emery, but so far it's been a very nice day up here in Sarnia. The Sarnia Sting, the OHL hockey team that Sean Burr and Dino Cicerelli are part owners of, is holding its first annual golf outing to raise money for the Sunshine Foundation, which is very much like the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And we're up here at the Huron Oaks Golf Club in Sarnia. And we'll talk more about that, talk with those guys in the 6 o'clock sportscast. But we want to show you what the Lions were doing today. This morning, head coach Wayne Fonts kind of shortened practice a little bit. He's kind of worried about the heat taking its effect on the guys as they continue to go through the two-a-days. The main subject this training camp has been John Tierlink, the new defensive coach, and the new Lions defense. Speed is the key to making this defense work. Everybody's been trying to figure out how the Lions defense will be different in 1995. Heck, all we had to do was ask Robert Porcher how it's going to be different.
Well, he says every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up knowing that he has to outrun the fastest lion or he'll be eaten. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up knowing that he must outrun the slowest gazelle or he will starve. So the moral of the story is when the sun rises, you best be running. so he says that every day we practice every day in Africa. So that's our philosophy. We run from the beginning of practice until Wayne blows the whistle.
How about that for an explanation, ladies and gentlemen? Robert Porcher and John Tierlink been watching a little National Geographic Explorer. The last time the Lions had a defense worth fearing, back in the early 80s when that silver rush was making a few headlines. And as our Fred Human explains, the Lions are digging back and tapping in to the knowledge of one of the stars of that silver rush to make the 95 defense even stronger.
Hey, how you doing, partner?
Look who was back in the Lions camp today. None other than Al Bubba Baker, the one-time pass rusher extraordinaire.
Anytime we can get a great player, or any player the Lions have had here to come back and want to put 2 cents in, I'm a listener, and I listen to all of them.
Think about suiting him up?
I told him that, but he said he has to go liposuction first. But other than that, he looks good.
Bubba is well over 300 pounds these days, and he marveled at hearing rookie Luther Ellis had just 7% body fat.
I get 7% body fat every time I eat a burger, you know?
Bubba is here on the invite of Wayne Fonts and defensive coordinator John Tierlink, who coached Bubba at the tail end of his career with the Browns. Bubba is crazy about the Lions' switch to a 4-3 defense.
If the good Lord's will, and I'll be back every year that there's this kind of front here. 2 gaps against my religion.
Well, they don't yell "Kill Bubba, kill" anymore, but a kinder, gentler Al Baker has returned to his old stomping grounds to instill some of that killer instinct into the Lions' defensive front. And as Bubba would be the first to tell you, any dummy can play football. It takes something special to be a football player.
I'm here because Wayne Fonts said he wants himself a pass rush. And he brought himself in a coach who had just happened to get another 19 sacks out of me in my last 2 years. It's almost like a godsend for me because now I can move on. You know, I can bring my boy here and say, hey, this is the place that made your dad. This is where Kill Bubba Kill came from, you know? Because he runs around the house going, Kill Bubba Kill. I'm not on there, man. I'm not a player.
Well, maybe not anymore, but boy was he. Fred Human, Newsbeat Sports.
Tigers are back in action tonight as they welcome the Oakland A's into town for the first of 3. And, you know, coming in, losing 10 of 11, you got to wonder if the veterans are just ready to hang it up right now. One of them says, no way.
When I go to the ballpark, I'm prepared to play. And, you know, as far as announcing a retirement, you know, I'm not ready to do that in July. I'm still having fun. I'm making a contribution. I know my role has changed. And if I was to come back next year, it would be even a limited role. So, you know, maybe it is. But, again, if they were to come and ask me that we'd like to have you come back and play that kind of role, I probably would. But, you know, we're not at that point yet.
As mentioned, we're up here for the Sarnia Sting charity golf outing, and coming up ahead at the 6 o'clock sportscast, we'll talk with Dino Cicerelli, Sean Burr, and Darren McCarty. All that ahead, Ruth and Emery.
All right.
Doesn't have quite the same ring, does
Yeah, right. Well, you want to know what Tim Allen is up to these days? Bob Talbert's Detroit. We'll have that for you in a minute.
He's got everything. And the king of pop hooks up with the mayor.
Domino's story on what Detroit superstar Tim Allen is up to, a history lesson, and a look-alike. You get it all today in Bob Talbert's Detroit.
I really miss Ed Kelly doing his great Tom Brokaw voice on WLLZ radio these mornings.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I miss his partner, Ken Calvert's natural wit, too. Wheels Can Detroit tipped his morning fare for what seems to be the dippiest morning show ever. You too. Calvert, by the way, is writing some stand-up material for his dear pal, Tim Allen. Allen says they're throwing tons of money at him to do a sequel to Santa Claus, his box office blockbuster. But he says he won't do it no matter how much they throw. Some people will believe anything, won't they? If you whisper it to them. Here's a history lesson. Joseph Campos, the street, was named after Detroit's original trustee and treasurer. He had $10 million when he died, making him the richest man in the country. But he made that money selling whiskey to Indians. He published the first edition of what is now the Detroit Thief Pest. Here's a look-alike for you. It comes from comedian Stacy Dupert of WNIC's Breakfast Club. San Francisco quarterback Steve Young and a fleshy Al Gore. Not bad, Stace. I've known singing careers that didn't last as long as the O.J. Simpson trial. I haven't watched a minute yet. I'm Bob Talbot. See you later.
If you'd like to get in touch with Bob, we have several ways you can do that. You can write him at Bob Talbert, WDIV-TV, 550 West Lafayette Boulevard, Detroit, the zip 48226 3140. Or you can call Bob in the Channel 4 newsroom at 313-222-0403. If he's not there, leave a message on his phone mail, or you can fax him at 313-222-0592. And his column is much more, his column and much more, I should say, is also available on WDIV Online, our World Wide Web internet site, and you can see the address there on your screen.
Country singer Charlie Rich has died. His body found in a hotel room in Hammond, Louisiana yesterday. The singer, known as the Silver Fox, first hit the charts with the song "The Most Beautiful Girl in the World." Rich's wife discovered his body. They had stopped in Louisiana on their way to Florida. No word tonight on the cause of death. He was 62 years old. The nominees for the 1995 MTV Music Video Awards are out. Michael Jackson and, get this, New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani made the announcements in New York City today. Jackson's video Scream was nominated for 11 awards. The award show is going to be held on September the 7th at the Radio City Music Hall. Jackson is also planning on an HBO concert in December. A San Diego man is in police custody tonight after stalking 60 Minutes reporter Leslie Stahl. Police arrested him after he called Stahl's home and then showed up at the CBS studio in New York. The man, who reportedly favors the legalization of marijuana, demanded that Stahl write a story in favor of pot use. And in a similar story this evening, a New York man is going to be in court next month in connection with stalking singer Roberta Flack. Well, there is more news coming your way at 6 o'clock.
Dan Mountainey's in the newsroom right now with a preview of the stories you'll see at 6. Dan?
Ruth and Emery, she's bruised and terrified. A female jogger attacked. New on the Newsbeat at 6, what happened to the early morning jogger. The description of the attacker, not what you might expect. Also new at 6, she's only 13 and she's in the fight of her young life. See how you might be able to help her. Plus, you know what you wear to bed at night, but what others slip on might surprise you. It's all new and just minutes away on the Newsbeat at 6.
If you missed the last Final Jeopardy, here's your chance to play along at home.
The last king of the Hellenes. He was